What's going on, guys? It's the Peace Bus mobile podcast here. I'm Kwabi, your host, and I'm with a phenomenal person by the name of Diane McGeoch. And I'm very excited to talk with her and do a podcast with her because she's doing some amazing things for peace with the young ones, with the children, which is really cool. How you doing, Diane?
I'm doing okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome. First, I want to give a big shout out to our hosts that are allowing us to be here on their farm. Connie and Hans, who are amazing people. They're the Bruins, and they've let us come into their home and be here to be able to do the podcast, which is super cool. But with no further ado, let's go with the podcast. My first question for you, Diane, is where are you from?
I'm from a whole bunch of places. My husband and I have only been in Idaho just under 3 years. We moved here in November of 2016.
Okay. Wow.
And before that, we lived in California. Before that, we lived in Maryland. And before that, we lived in Connecticut. And in my childhood, I lived in 4 different states: Minnesota, Nebraska, Illinois, and Massachusetts. So I'm one of those people. I'm just from a bunch of places.
I'm sure that background has helped you to formulate what you do now. So if I can, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have started a peace camp for children. Is that correct?
That's correct, but I didn't start it.
Oh, who started it?
Wonderful people from the area, Nampa, started it. I am relatively new to Learning Peace, a camp for kids. I have been on board as the coordinator since April of 2018, so just over a year. It was started by Michael and Candy Cecile, who are members of the same church as our hosts, Southside United Methodist Church in Nampa. Michael and Candy had this idea of a peace camp for kids in Nampa. They realized that this idea needed a broad base of support. So they took the idea to some other churches and community organizations in Nampa, and it was a collaborative effort. It was held for the first time in 2017. So the credit for starting it really goes to Michael and Candy and a bunch of other people who they brought on board. Pastor Megan Manlove of Trinity Lutheran in Nampa, Pastor Karen Hunter from Grace Episcopal in Nampa, the Nampa Ministerial Association, and a whole bunch of other people shared the vision that Michael and Candy had, and the first camp was held in 2017.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm not too sure, maybe you would know, but my next follow-up question was, what was the reasoning behind creating a camp like this? I'm sure a lot of it has to do with faith, your guys' faith, but what do you know why it was started? The reasoning behind creating something like this?
I think the idea was there wasn't a camp like this in the area.
I've never
we
heard
are, as far as I know, the only one in the Treasure Valley, the greater Boise, Nampa, Caldwell area. So I think they had this idea, wow, we really need to do something like this. No one else is doing it. And the second thing, let's do it for kids. And our age range is kids ages 6 to 13.
Wow.
So there were those two, we've come across this curriculum from Peace Village Global, an organization that Michael and Candy were acquainted with. We want to do a camp. No one else is doing it, and we want to do it for kids. So that was really the original vision.
I see. How long? Wait, first of all, what do you guys do? What is the camp about?
We have 4 days, and the 2017. And then I came on board, as I've said, in April of 2018. And so last year it was held July 30th to August 2nd. This year we had the camp from July 22nd to the 25th. So we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we hold it at the Hispanic Cultural Center in Nampa, not too far from here. A wonderful facility where we have great classrooms and meeting space and a multi-purpose room. So it's a day camp. And in the morning, we have 4 program areas. All that we think are foundations of peacemaking: connecting with nature, conflict resolution, media literacy, and mindful movement. So we have volunteer teachers come in facilitate those 4 program areas in the morning. We have a break for a snack, and then we have a break for lunch. And then in the afternoon, starting at about 1 o'clock, we have a field trip. And the kids go out to Deer Flat National Wildlife Refuge on the southern end of Nampa. And then we have cultural presentations. This year, we had the hula dancers with us on Monday. On Tuesday, we had the World Center for Birds of Prey come with live raptors. On Wednesday, we had a flamenco dance group come. Jeez. And on Thursday, we had the OML Hispanic dancers come. And those cultural performers come and they're with us for about an hour. And in addition to doing a performance, they also teach us about their culture, the history of their group, and they usually teach the kids a dance.
Wow.
And then the last hour of our time together, from about 2 to 3, is spent on some art and crafts projects.
I see.
So that's the format of the day.
Wow. That's so amazing. Why do you feel that it's important? Because a lot of what you've explained is like exposing kids at a young age to other cultures, you know. Why do you feel that that's important?
I think the time in our world is a challenging time, and we really value cultural diversity as one of the foundations of camp, and just doing it with kids makes a lot of sense. Really inspiring those connections to take place when they're ages 6 to 13, but not to end there, to plant seeds for their future development as well. So really inspiring those connections and hoping that as they mature, they continue valuing
culture,
diversity.
That's so awesome.
And doing it in a fun way.
Yeah.
I mean, we have fun watching the cultural performers. We have fun learning a dance. We have fun learning the history that each group brings to us.
The media part, what was that again?
Media literacy.
So what goes on there?
That's a really neat class. I just this last week saw some of the projects that the kids created during that class. They are invited to create a public service announcement about peacemaking. Wow. But they also learn about social media and discernment, media discernment. Kind of what things to look for and guidelines. And that's done, in an age-appropriate way. And I want to do a thank you to Northwest Nazarene University that loaned us our iPads, which we used during that class, which the kids then had some free downloadable resources that they could use to create their public service announcement. But literacy can mean, lots of things.
For sure.
But guidelines and just having open, non-judgmental conversations about media.
Wow, that's so important. Especially nowadays, people get really sucked into the media, how it's so polarizing. To be able to have discernment and figuring out and just being able to see that. There are lots of people who don't see how it caters to one side or the other, and to be able to see that at such a young age and have that knowledge is so important, I feel. That's super cool.
And they're asked about what kinds of media they use and what kinds of media are in their home. What kinds of media are they encountering on a daily basis? So part of it is just a media assessment, but also some discernment in terms of using media.
I see. Wow. Let's talk about this mindful movement you were talking about. So is that meditation? Is that yoga? What is that?
It's both of those. It's yoga and it's meditation, and it's just self-awareness of one's body, because we think, again, understanding one's body and understanding how one can take a moment to meditate or take a moment to form a yoga pose. Those are things that can lead to peacemaking, because part of peacemaking is that self-awareness of understanding one's body. We also had, as one day of that class, mindful eating. So we had a nutritionist come from St. Luke's Hospital in Nampa to talk about balance in one's diet and portion control. And so that mindful movement includes mindful eating. And the kids enjoy the yoga. On our evaluations, one of the top things they mention is, I loved the yoga poses.
That's cool.
What was really cool was on Wednesday, during our nature class, we went across the street from the Hispanic Cultural Center to Lakeview Park in Nampa, and we planted 4 trees. And the last thing we did after putting the tree in the hole and shoveling the dirt and watering the tree is each group got a chance to do the tree pose beside the tree they had just planted. So that was really cool. All the kids knew the tree pose from the yoga in the mindful movement class.
How many kids do you guys usually have?
This year we had between 80 and 90 kids every day.
Oh my goodness.
The numbers vary a little bit each day. Not every kid can come all 4 days. Most are there the whole time.
Okay.
But it was between 80 and 90.
Wow. And how do you guys publicize this? Like how do you get the word out about the camp?
We have our faith communities that publicize it heavily, all of the churches that are involved, but we also have wonderful partnerships with community organizations. The Nampa School District publicizes our camp. The Nampa Rotary Club publicizes and supports our camp. The Nampa Kiwanis Club publicizes and supports our camp.
I see.
Nampa Ministerial Association. Nampa Smiles is one of our partners. It wouldn't be possible without all of these partnerships. For example, Brown Bus Company donates a bus to provide our field trip transportation.
Wow.
And Nampa Kiwanis this year donated all of our reusable water bottles. And we have a chef come, Steve Weston from In the Wild Chef, who's also a member of the Chamber of Commerce in Nampa, very involved with them, who comes all 4 days to prepare our lunches. All of this collaboration makes it possible because people are donating their time and their services.
Wow.
So that Nampa schools at the end of the school year make sure that parents know about our flyer and our dates and our purpose. And all of these churches and community organizations get the word out. And one thing that we haven't mentioned that's really important, our camp is free. So it's amazing. We couldn't do it without all of these things that I've mentioned and many more people that I'm probably forgetting. No child is charged to come to this camp. Part of the original vision was there's a lot of great camps out there. There's band camp, there's music camp, there's science camp, there's nature camp, there's computer camp.
Yeah.
And these camps have gotten to be expensive. They're all great.
Yeah.
But they're expensive. So our camp from the very beginning has been free.
Wow. Wow. You've had many people rallying around you guys and helping to promote and helping you guys keep it going. What are the results, Diane? Like, what have you seen kids come in that maybe don't have a lot of understanding of peace, and then after they leave, you can see them that they're a changed child? Or what have you seen as far as results of the camp?
Well, we go by what the kids tell us, what the families tell us, what we hear in the evaluations. And, a lot of the results we have to trust that someone else is going to be responsible. We have 4 days with these kids. So they're going back to their family, they're going back to their school, to their community, to whatever system that they're a part of. But we now have a presence at some other community events in Nampa. And often we'll see several weeks or months later some of the kids or families that have been to Peace Camp.
Wow.
And we just hear that it is making a difference in personal relationships. There was one phrase, and it might come from another program, but one kid said, "I can be a buddy, not a bully." So those kinds of seeds, planting those kinds of seeds for the future. And I think we need to build a better way of tracking that. That maybe 3 months after our camp or 6 months after our camp, we can do some more intentional follow-up. But we're hearing very positive things from the kids and families who have attended.
Wow. So if I'm understanding this correctly, I remember you talking about it when we first started speaking and talking and having the conversation. You talked about this being a part of a bigger or wider group.
There is an organization called Peace Village Global.
Okay.
And we use their curriculum. So
I
those
see.
4 program areas I mentioned that are those classes that are held in the morning, the curriculum comes from Peace Village Global.
I see.
And we actually have pay them we are a licensee of Peace Village Global.
I see.
And can use that curriculum. And they sponsor and support peace camps all over the country. They're based in Seattle. Members of our planning team have gone to a peacemaking or a Peace Village Global training that was held in Portland in April. So we're connected to them. But like I said earlier, as far as we know, we're the only camp of this type in the entire Treasure Valley.
Wow. See, and that's the thing that's so important about educating others about things like this. I'm from Tacoma. The Peace Bus is from Tacoma. We didn't even know that this existed.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to check these guys out. Do you know how many peace camps there are like this in the country?
I'm not absolutely sure, but I think that there are, I'm guessing, between 30 and 40 camps like this in the country.
Okay. And then do you, for the peace camp in Nampa, how do you guys plan on expanding the curriculum, expanding the camp? We
would love to expand. Our age range is 6 to 13.
Okay.
It's great. It's great to plant seeds with that age range. But it would be wonderful, say, to have a second camp experience for ages 14 and older, because that's a key age for forming one's identity and for understanding peacemaking and for experiencing those 4 program areas that we have. We hope to get there one day. Again, we're committed that it be free. So for us to offer a second 4-day experience, we would need those volunteers who would be available for those 4 days. We would need a lot of those partnerships to continue. It's part of our dream to have it grow and expand, but we've now done the 3 years with ages 6 to 13 for those 4 days. And hopefully, as we build a broader base of support, we can expand and have older ages experience it as well. But one exciting ingredient of this year's camp, we had a Play for Peace trainer with us. And Play for Peace is based, I believe, in Chicago. They learned of our camp from Karen Hunter, pastor of Grace Episcopal in Nampa. And they sent a facilitator to be with us for those 4 days. And Richard from Play for Peace worked with some older kids who were not old enough to attend the camp, so they're 14 or older. And he trained them in peace-building, non-competitive, community-building games. So in the morning, Richard, the facilitator, was working with these older kids. Then in the afternoon, after the cultural performers were done and art projects were going on, the Play for Peace group taught the younger kids all of these games.
Can you try to describing, if you can, one of these games that you guys play?
I know a lot of them, I didn't see them in their entirety, but a lot of them involved like gathering around a parachute and just getting to know different people in games, not based on physical or athletic ability, but a lot of community building things.
Wow. I think in schools, all the things that you've mentioned, we lack that in our schools for, as far as young ones, kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. I think that having curriculums like this in place, and even in our schools, like the camps are great, but even implementing the things that you've talked about in the camp in schools, I think would be a good idea.
We have thought of offering an after-school program based on this curriculum from Peace Village Global. And again, that's part of our dream, part of our expansion, is that maybe we start with one school and 1 day a week and have an after-school program with some of these pieces: mindful movement, media literacy, conflict resolution, connecting with nature. And that's part of our dreaming. We're dreaming that maybe we can offer a second camp to older ages, and part of the dreaming would be an after-school program. And we think that we could probably write a grant and get some funding to help with that after-school program. But that's part of the dream. 4 days is great.
Yeah.
But there are all of these possible ways that we can expand.
I see. Diane, do you think that these curriculums and everything that you explained that you guys do in the camps could help to, there's so much violence going on in our modern day and age, especially teens and in high school and school shootings, things like that. Do you think that programming like this could help to dwindle those numbers of the violence going on?
I think it can help because I have seen the kids relating to other kids. One kid forming a healthy relationship with another kid, an older kid mentoring a younger kid. I see the adults teaching and in conversation with and building relationships with the kids, either through those classes in the morning or the field trip or the cultural presentations or the art or the Play for Peace. I see all of that as a process of planting seeds. So I think it can make a difference. And we're seeing in Nampa different things happen. Last September, Nampa had a community-wide kindness festival at the Ford, cool. Idaho Center. We were invited. We had a booth there. And it was a great event. And a lot of the healthcare partners were there, community organizations were there, schools were represented. It's all about planting those seeds.
We're going to have to talk more after this podcast is over because the Peace Bus, we've been on this journey. We left Tacoma and been hitting all the major cities in California. We left San Diego and went to Las Vegas. We went to Salt Lake City, and now we're here in Boise. And during this time, we have interviewed people like yourself about peace, asking the question, what's peace mean to them? You're the first person that we've come in contact with that has a curriculum, an actual set of guidelines that they can use peace and program in it. And I have personally been struggling with the idea of how to put peace into action, and I commend you for doing that. And I'm happy after this. I've learned so much about what you've been doing right now in this podcast, but I'm curious to talk more about it. But I want to thank you so much for coming and talking about your camp and enlightening others on what you're doing and how peace can be a vital part of our lives and help change things.
Well, thank you. This is a privilege to share this with other people. We have some big dreams for the future, but this 4 days, I've been a part of it now twice, last year and this year. It's incredible. And I think the curriculum is a tool. And the program we have during those 4 days is a good structure and a good tool. But it all comes down to building those relationships, kid to kid, adult to kid, adult to adult. And then those relationships spread to a person's family, to a person's neighborhood, to a person's community, to a child's school, to an adult's church. And I can see that now starting to happen in Nampa and other places. And, it's hard to know the results. Like I say, we have them for those 4 days and we plant those seeds. But as I observe what's happening at camp, and now with our Play for Peace group and these other community events that we're going to be a part of until next July, our camp will be held July 13th to 16th, 2020. Just watching those relationships get planted and flourish and then take root. I think that's what it's about, that one-on-one that's growing and growing and growing.
Gotcha. So Diane, if a kid, if parents watching this, they want their kid to participate in the program, how do they do that?
We have a website, learningpeacenampa.com, and our registration will open next May 1st of 2020. We have a Facebook page. And we'll be out and about in the community. We get invited to school carnivals. We'll be at the Kindness Festival. Our churches, our community partners will be talking about us. And we are now already planning for July 13th to 16th, 2020, a free camp for kids ages 6 to 13 centered on peacemaking. And maybe some of these dreams we have for a second camp for older kids or an after-school program, with more collaboration and more support, those dreams will happen as well. But check our website, check our Facebook page, or check with all of those community partners that we have through the churches and the organizations. They know about us and can share our information.
Wow. I'm all for it. Thank you so much, Diane. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, so you heard it. It's amazing, beautiful stuff. It's the Peace Bus mobile podcast. Basically, what we do is we interview folks about peace, try to gain understanding of what the world is and how we can come together as people. I'm Kwabi, your host, and we're out. Thank you.